So it's been a while since I've actually tried this, but Airstrike only is something that I did around a year ago when these Dutch cruisers came out, and we're specifically using the Dockyard Premium, the D7 Provincien, because of its airstrike reload time. And that's what really enables this airstrike only game to actually work and not be super boring. The normal Dutch cruisers on their airstrike have a quite long reload on that airstrike. It's a lot easier to use and much more powerful, but this one has around a 45-second reload, so only a little longer than a Vermont salvo, let's say. So there's not too much downtime, and instead of only saving up 2 airstrikes that we can use both at the same time, we actually can load up 3 all at once. So this ship certainly is a little more interesting to use as an airstrike only ship. And against tier 10s, this might even be a viable strategy, since our main guns really aren't going to do a whole lot of damage. We lack a lot of gun range as well, so hiding behind an island and just using these airstrikes might actually be something you want to consider, at least in the early game. And my goodness, this poor Iowa. Stuck bow in, there's a submarine actually chasing him down too. This poor guy. But our first strike is not bad. 6,000 damage, we even get a fire. He uses his damage control, so of course, we're going to wait for that and try and capitalize on as many fires as we possibly can. This strategy, though, is a meme, right? I'm only doing this for fun. I'm bored with a regular game, and I want to try something a little bit weird. So it's not like this is something you should be trying to accomplish, but if you want to try something weird and you have the D7 Provincien, give this a go. It's really a bit of a difficult challenge, thanks to this tiny airstrike drop square that we have here. It makes you much better at the standard Dutch cruiser airstrikes. That's something I noticed that as I was doing this challenge, I guess, back in the day, is that I got much better at the mainline Dutch cruisers and using that airstrike, and that actually made the cruisers feel a lot better. If you're not getting any value out of these airstrikes, the Dutch cruisers can feel pretty weak at times. And if you are in a position to actually use these Dutch airstrikes, they can do some pretty good damage. Look at that, we're already up over 33,000 damage. We got several fires burning on this Iowa. Unfortunately, this Iowa is about to die to this poor submarine. I mean, this poor Iowa is about to die to this submarine. Poor guy. Bow in battleship is certainly not always going to be the optimal target or the most available target. It certainly is an optimal target. You are looking for those people that are stuck because you have a 15-second lead time on these airstrikes. And on the D7, it's such a small box that 15 seconds lead time is very difficult on something that isn't giant like a battleship, moving very slowly and predictably in reverse. So that's why I'm going to wait a long time here with this Des Moines, because I want to make sure I know what he's going to do. I'm trying to predict 15 seconds in the future with a cruiser that, I mean, he probably doesn't have legendary mod, but if he had the ledge mod, he could go from full reverse to full forward in that time. It's kind of crazy how much more maneuverable things get as they get to be a smaller target. So not only is it harder to hit because it's a little bit smaller as a cruiser, that it's much more maneuverable. So this is a situation where the airstrikes wouldn't be as good. There is something to target selection with the airstrikes, and battleships certainly are the ones to go for. The damage output isn't bad here, as we can see, but if you're using the regular Dutch cruisers or you're just playing a regular game with the D7 Provincien, try to look for the battleships instead of cruisers or instead of destroyers. It's much harder to deal damage. For me in this situation, though, there wasn't really much else to go after, so I just kind of went after the Des Moines for now. And we're already up to over 50k. Look at that. 6 minutes into this game, we're up over 50k in a tier 10 game with a tier 8 light cruiser. I don't even know if I could have done this in a normal tier 8 light cruiser, this amount of damage in a tier 10 game, because it's always very difficult as a light cruiser. Double up tier. There's just so much range and crossfires and extra spotting here from the carrier that it would be very difficult. So I might have even done better because I did airstrike only in this one. It's certainly not always going to be the case. In my previous video, I believe we were on the map Two Brothers, so that one is probably around the best case scenario considering that middle channel and the ability to get so close to the enemy team without being spotted or without really even much to worry about in terms of crossfires, because those islands are just so big. On this map, with this island, we've done pretty well, as you can see, but We're about to run out of targets as this Des Moines is going to go down soon. And that's really the big challenge here, is that the airstrike range is pretty limited. So unlike a carrier where you can go all the way around the map wherever you want to, you're very limited based on where your ship is actually in the game, which is interesting to play around with, but unfortunately it does mean that as we're actually going to be the ones to kill this Des Moines, we have to skip ahead a long ways in this game because nothing was actually in range for me to drop for a very, very long time. 54,000 damage a kill with 12 and a half minutes left on the clock. It's pretty good. But yeah, we just sat here for like 4 minutes. So it's not always going to be the best strategy to play with. I think it can be boring in a lot of circumstances. I was really looking forward to this game as I was killing that Des Moines. I was thinking, man, I'm going to get a record here for the most amount of airstrike only damage I've done. And it's still going to be a good game, but not quite as good as some of my previous ones, I think. And you can see how hesitant I actually am to use this airstrike. It's so tiny that maybe one of the tech tree Dutch cruisers, I would have actually dropped this airstrike for this Stalingrad because it's a little bigger, but it's so hard to lead. 15 seconds with such a small box. It's, well, people like this Wichita that we want to focus on. This is going to be our last little bit of damage for this game. You can see how the game is already pretty much won by our team. And it really comes down to people that are bow in, people that are fairly stationary that these airstrikes are kind of going after. It's kind of funny how these airstrikes are intended to prevent people from camping islands, and the best way to use these airstrikes is to camp islands yourselves. Which I find kind of ironic, and, you know, not bad damage, some shatters there. But more importantly, we just missed a lot of bombs because it's a small cruiser. That's why we definitely want to be focusing on battleships if we can. We do pen, I think, over 32 millimeters of armor, so most battleships you're going to be able to do decent damage to, especially on the bow and stern sections, the superstructure. There's only a few deck armors that you're going to want to necessarily avoid, but it's a big target, so you're going to light fires and all that too. It's not a bad performance. Tier 10 game, keep in mind, nearly 70,000 airstrike only damage. It's a fun meme, and look at that. We're top 4 on the score, tier 10 game. Not bad. I would say not bad at all. As for the build on the D7, it's really just a airstrike build. This focus fire training, well, usually used for AA. On the Dutch cruiser specifically, it actually gives you this nice aircraft or airstrike armament reload time, 10% boost to that, which is pretty useful. Other than that, it's kind of a standard build. Superintendent, because we have a heal, survivability expert, concealment. I'm trying to maximize my ability to play around islands a little bit more. I think you could run more gun build if you wanted to get more value out of the ship, because this airstrike only, while fun, certainly lacks some versatility. Airstrike mod here as well, reducing the reload time, and that's how we get that absolutely amazing 47-second reload on 13-kilometer range airstrikes, which is pretty nice. And yeah, 34 millimeters of pen. Looks like I was right on what I thought I remembered. Now, yeah, we are able to pen battleship armor, which is quite nice, and we can do some pretty decent damage. It's a fun challenge, although certainly not the easiest thing to accomplish, and much, much better as running the ship just normally. And if you do have the D7, try this out, and maybe then try the tech tree ships afterwards. You'll be surprised how much better you are with the airstrikes, I think. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.